everybody. This is William Del Pilar, and this is the Red, White, and Rude, where pop culture and politics collide. And today we are gonna. This is more of a clip, but we're going to talk about Dragon's Age, and critics have labeled Dragon's Age, the Veilguard, as woke, citing its emphasis on diversity and contemporary social issues. On the diversity side, ranging to negative connotations in terms of the crap they're trying to shove down our throats. And this has led to mixed reactions among fans. Actually, it's led to two sides. One side being we don't like the woke crap, the other side saying you're a racist bigot, etc., because you don't appreciate our wokeness. I call this segment Dragon Age the Veilguard. So woke, it's got its own space. So, despite claims of impressive player engagement, we'll talk about that, the game's launch performance has been scrutinized, especially when you compare it. I'm comparing it to other AAA titles, which raises the questions of its potential long-term success. Long-term, this should hit its numbers, but as a blockbuster, it's like Hollywood. They don't want to break even with a big tent movie. They need to make that massive profit to excuse how much the game costs. Dragon Age and AAA games are no different. So specific elements people are complaining about are the cutscenes addressing misgendering and character introspection notes. All of this has sparked debate, arguments, anger, hatred on whether these features enhance or detract from the overall narrative experience. In other words, does the woke crap take away from the gaming? To some players, it does. They're just tired of wokeness. I am. I won't watch a 90-pound woman beating up a 300-pound man in Hollywood anymore because it's so fake, so unrealistic. And they're always trying to drive home the message women are equal. Smack that. No, I'm kidding. It's just aggravating. You hear all these women right now, especially since Trump won the election. How dare you? You come my way up with him. You're going to do what? Nothing. Just shut up. I know you didn't vote for him. You don't like him. But the hate and vitriol. I saw this in the Navy all the time. I'm like, you don't want to piss him off. Especially when you two have been, whoa, and you're breaking him up because he's knocking her out. I'm not kidding. I saw that. I'm like, what the hell possessed you to think you could sit there and take on a man? You can't. The worlds we live in. And it has nothing to do with how I feel about women. I grew up with three strong sisters, a strong mother, a strong aunt. Hell, my Puerto Rican side, there's two of them went to prison after what they did to the man. So I know strong women. Excuse me. Okay, so again, critics have labeled Dragon Age Veilguard as woke, citing the themes, character diversity, and social commentary. So let's get into it. Fan reactions are obviously mixed. Some support it. You know, the ones who are paid, the game journalists who are paid, the little 5'2" pajama boy male. So let's get right to it and talk about it. Let's get to an example of some of this wokeness. Let me grab this here. Here we go. So let's play this.
Pounding that snake's nose, she's still holding the ruby in her other hand.
First of all, that voice, oh, it's kind of like so Rosie Perez like.
Maker's panties. I was so proud.
Oh,
Nose, she's still holding the ruby in her other hand.
Still holding the ruby in her other hand. That's the big issue here. It's part of the game.
Maker's panties. I was so proud.
Oh,
Right there, she's like, "Oh, you said something wrong."
Ah, shit. They're still holding it. Sorry.
Instead of saying her, there. So she does some self-imposed punishment there. In essence, what she's doing is she's delivering a heavy-handed lecture on misgendering, which is seen as detracting from the game's narrative and immersion. You're playing the game, you're getting into these characters, then comes the woke crap. And this is the transgender character right there.
What are you doing?
Pulling a barb.
Oh, okay.
a barb.
Tradition in the Lords of Fortune from one of our old members, Barv. Good guy, but like most of us, his plan went sideways a lot. Bad blood.
Oh, dear God, I can't even finish watching that. Let's fast forward.
Drawn out apologies. So when one of us screws up and we know we've screwed up, we do a quick 10.
They self-punish themselves, is what she's saying.
We go.
I'm glad the Lords of Fortune have Tarsh's back.
Oh, Tarsh isn't the first non-binary member of the Lords.
Really?
It was a little
Non-binary.
before your time, but Horlicks was one of ours.
Huh.
Bastard looked better than I did in a dress or pants.
Transgender
And
person.
out of them, too.
Any reason you can't just apologize?
Sometimes people say, oops, sorry, and hope that fixes it. But they just want to get the whole thing over with. Trust me, I know. But pulling a barf, you sweat a little. Makes you think about it a little more. So
She's saying self-punishment is more important than just saying I'm sorry. That whole scene there, it pretty much epitomizes the what that game is about and some of the messaging it wants. And you as a parent need to understand this. This is the indoctrination that I always refer to. In essence, the character of Isabella's direct address to the player about accountability and apologies feels like a forced fourth wall break, undermining the subtlety of storytelling and character development. In essence, she gets out of character to teach you a lesson. Oh, it's disgusting. And the person with the horn is a character named Rook, who identifies as non-binary. In fact, let me bring that back up so you can see her clearly. Hold on one second. There she is, Rook. Rook identifies as non-binary, with the protagonist able to identify as transgender if the player chooses. Again, parents, this is how they're teaching your kids. It's not just school. School is probably the primary, but I call gaming actually the number one form of indoctrination because kids get immersed in this. So the game allows players to create and roleplay explicitly transgender characters for the first time in the Dragon Age series. And to my knowledge, the first time in any game. I'm sure I'm wrong, but this is the first AAA game I've seen it. I've seen lesbian characters and other things, but this is the first time I've seen one with an actual role where there's what do they call it? An adventure that you can choose that deals with that issue. So the dialogue options, they allow players to establish Rook as transgender. That's what it is, as transgender, and explore aspects of trans experiences. Think about that. Think about that, parents. Now, the game's director, Kareem Boucher, emphasized the importance of including these options for player representation. In other words, she wants to indoctrinate your kids. I'm including them so they know my heartfelt experience. I don't care about your heartfelt experiences. This is a fantasy world. They want the experience of fantasy, not get indoctrinated about your social beliefs. That is such a small percentage, but yet you guys want to shove down everybody's throat. Obviously, this has drawn criticism from some players who felt it detracts from traditional gameplay, and I agree. Many negative user reviews on Metacritic describe the game as having a woke agenda. That's a legit reason to give it a negative review. People are like, "How dare you give it a woke negative review because it's woke?" Well, it's terrible dialogue. It's woke agenda psyops. So that's what somebody said. Awful dialogue and obviously some woke agenda psyop. That's a quote. Here's another one. This is what happens when you try to force DEI and sexual ideology in a fantasy game. Those are two of the negative reviews. And I agree. I agree. As you as a parent, if this is not what you believe in your child, get him another game. Get her another game. Oh, I'm sorry. Get they there. Then you have the presence of diverse romance options, including pansexual characters. And that's led more game players to argue that it robs characters of depth and personality because they're shoving woke crap again down our throats. A game is supposed to be fun, to experience fantasy, to have enjoy time, and to teach some lessons, but not to indoctrinate. So there's also been unintended in-game notes. We're going to talk about that have surfaced that reflect personal introspection on gender identity, such as trans woman is woman, and meaning man is woman. You know, feminists are their own worst enemies. especially with the sports. But before we get to that, let's talk about the French non-standard lies. Lies. So Veilguard introduces non-standard language choices, such as the use of "les" as a gender-neutral article and "gouverneur a," which combines masculine and feminine forms in a way that just doesn't exist in the French language. Let me get that up for you. I mean, it's just terrible, people, terrible. And here that is. Oh, let me make it here a little bit bigger so you can actually see it. So there's the image of the scene where it does. Dragon Age the Veilguard is even worse than French. Lay, the word doesn't exist in French. You have either lay for masculine and la for feminine. There is no neutral definite article. So you have lay and la. Lay masculine, la for feminine. They created la a. La a. Which doesn't exist. That's their gender neutral term. They're making shit up. And then there's Governor A, which combines masculine and feminine terms. As you see, Governor A in the inclusive language, which is being rejected by the Académie François. They use the period at the end of a masculine word followed by the feminine ending, making the word even more confusing. Again, they're trying to shove their belief and they're making crap up. So the inclusion of these two changes, it just reflects an effort to push more progressive narratives through language. And these things do disrupt the natural flow of the French and impose ideological views. And it's also disrespecting to the French language using the left's belief. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. Terrible. So let's do one more here, or another one. This is one of the creators of Dragon Age. He's not involved with the game anymore. Once the company was sold, he probably went his own way. He says, apparently the usual suspects are upset at how woke the new Dragon Age is, and apparently sudden and unexpected development in the series. Fucking tourists. He's talking about the gamers that buy and support this. David Gator's what you call a cuck. Here's your white vajayjay cuck, a man who has been emasculated and enjoys it. I'm pretty sure a real man makes love to his wife while he watches. That's what this guy David, he's the French, Gator Lay. Oh, man. He says we focus on perceived problems rather than engaging with the deeper narrative and character development present in the franchise. And we would do that if we weren't smart enough to realize you're shoving woke crap down our throat. So let's get to the diary. I think this is an error, or one of the game designers purposely snuck it in. Let me show you what I am talking about with the video. Whoops, where am I going here? Where are you going, Del? Where are you going? Here we go. All right, so you're going into the game. Right there. Here's the diary. You can't see it there. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger for you. Well, you can't see it, but what it says, Tosh notes, meeting shadow dragons to talk gender stuff. And there is in the middle has trans means was other gender. Then change. Wait, no, was always new thing, just now acknowledged. Not changing, affirming. Trans woman is woman. What she's saying with trans woman is woman. She's saying man is woman. Not feeling right in body is dysphoria. Whole big thing. Etc., etc. Kids feel uncomfortable with girls who act more feminine. No, I like girls. Girls smell good. This is a girl saying this. but like hanging out with lords more than girls. Non-binary means not man or woman, can feel like either. So again, it's more indoctrination. More indoctrination. And you really can see it there. So let me show it to you by the world famous or infamous, depending which circles you're talking about here. And that is Mr. Grums, the Grumsmeister. He's a, I don't know if he's a former mid-level, what's that game? Oh my God. I just saw a damn great movie on it. Warcraft. He worked at Warcraft. I don't know if he was executive or mid-level, but he's no longer there. But he knows the ins and outs of this, and he kind of breaks it down. So what appears to be writer's notes have been uncovered in the PC version of Dragon Age Veilguard. The notes, which read almost like a diary, have some crazy stuff in them. Trans woman is woman. Valid even if no words when younger. Could feel uncomfortable with girls who act more feminine. No, I like girls. Girls smell good. This is a woman writing this, and it's in there as a diary. Like hanging out with lords more than girl. So we don't know if this was actually purposely put in there, but it is in there. That has been confirmed. Some people are saying this is a stream of consciousness and informal, leading to speculation that they may be personal notes from a writer. The point is, they're in the game for children to see. Now, supposedly this game is for 17 and above, but see, that's a problem with parents. They don't watch what their kids play because you parents, you use games as a babysitter. This is how they're being indoctrinated. So this game is a AAA game. Came out with a lot of fanfare, a lot of game journalists. Oh man, this game kicks ass. Look at those sales, baby. Yeah. Well, it's far from the truth. Steam has something called Steam Charts, where you can see how many players are playing concurrently. So here is the player count here. If you can see that, it peaked at 89,418 players playing concurrently. To the slow, which is what I was like, okay, what's all this mean? Because I don't play online anymore. I briefly played online 20 years ago. But that means 89,000 people playing at once. Now the game had just launched, been there a few days. At 89,000, you're like, oh, that's not too bad, William. That's not too bad. 89,000 people, lots of people, William. I know, you're right. However, this is a triple A game. And since then, since this peak, it's been at about 20 to 25,000 current players since then, which is still pretty damn good, but not for a AAA game. Just to let you know, this is what it peaked at. AAA game costs a couple $100 million to make. That's right, 200 plus million. So recent AAA title peaks: Black Myth Wukong, 2,223,000. In fact, let me see if I can turn this into a chart here real quick. Okay, I found it. So 89,000 is what it peaked at, Dragon's Age Veilguard. These are from my notes, but recent AAA title peaks. Black Myth Wukong, 2,223,179 players. 89,000 versus 2 million. Power World, 89,000 versus 2.1 million. Cyberpunk, 89,000 versus 1 million or 1.1 million. 89,000 versus Elden Ring, 953,000 concurrent players. So you get my point. 89,000 is what they were trying to hype up as like, man, that's the bomb. I think not. So while people may believe that the Veilguard's numbers are strong for single player RPG, they are significantly low when you compare the blockbuster releases. And that's what this is, a AAA game. Again, approximately 200 million to make. We're not sure, but these are the estimates. So while this Veilguard may rank in the top 10 most played games on Steam when it came out, it's kind of an illusion when you compare it to actual other AAA blockbusters. And even one of the minor ones, Dragon's Dogma 2, 229,000 versus 89,000. So there's marketing versus reality. While the peak player count is notable, it does raise a question about whether this reflects genuine success or if it falls below expectations from EA, meaning EA was expecting higher numbers. So EA may say whatever the hell they want, but they're disappointed. So while the game has been praised for refreshing the Dragon Age series, it's been 10 years, I want to say, since Dragon Age, the previous Dragon Age came out. It also faced criticism for repetitive gameplay and a lack of evolution in its mechanics. You think a game that took this long to play or to make, 8 years, would have overcome that? So reviews have noted that while it captures some of the BioWare magic, it often disappoints. BioWare's been bought by EA. They've gone woke. EA's last big release, Alan Wake 2, same thing. A little bit of wokeism, but it still hasn't made its money back. Now, this is a departure from literally every AAA game out there. The Veilguard will not feature any downloadable content. The development team has already shifted over to Mass Effect 5. And Mass Effect is another big IP, and they're moving on for Dragon's Age. So what you see is what you get. I kind of think this could be the end of this franchise for many years. You know, this decision has obviously left fans who anticipate additional content will be extremely disappointed. That's kind of the obvious what I just said, isn't it? My point is this. People are going to play this game, they're going to finish it. Some of them will replay a different, certain you answer a question differently. Theoretically, you can have a different circumstance happen. But because of word of mouth, because of lack of any downloadable content, like Alan Wake 2 just had a big downloadable content. They kind of remarketing it, getting more newer people. That's out. So they kind of hurt themselves. So let's talk about some sales. And I'll give a hat tip to Ginger Prime. And you can find Ginger Prime at Ginger Prime Gaming on YouTube. In fact, let me get that up there for you guys. Banners. I like to give kudos where kudos are at. So Ginger Prime Gaming at YouTube, a hat tip to him, and a hat tip to That Park Place at thatparkplace.com. So I got a lot of data from these two sites. So some of the pre-order numbers, the initial estimates were about 150,000 pre-orders. The actual pre-orders were between 70 to 75,000. So the estimates overestimated. The launch performance, overall sales, when you combine PC with console sales, you're looking at about 1.4 million copies is what they've added up to. And what when I was looking through it and listening to it, that's what I got. So the launch week sales were approximately 600,000 copies sold, which generated about 37 million. Since then, it's about 1.4 million. So the PC sales were about 500,000 copies after refunds. Now you're hearing some other podcasts, they sold less than 1 million. That's just PC. But when you combine the console sales, which is another 700,000, that's where you get the 1.4 million. I got 1.4 million because some reports said it was 700,000 PC sales. So I said, okay, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. 1.4 million. That's 96 million after accounting for refunds, which about 30,000 games were asked for a refund, which is about a couple million, 1.2 million or something like that. The break-even point, this game needs to sell about 4 to 5 million to bring in 280 to 300 million in revenue. That's the break-even, which means the game probably costs a couple hundred million. You toss in another 50 million for marketing. However, some say the break-even point could be as high as 400 million to 600 million when you look at the fact it went through development hell beginning in 2015 and took approximately 8 years. We don't know what number to believe, but here's what you can take away. Minimum 200 million. That's a AAA game. And these early numbers, they don't want to say bust, but they want to say long crawl to break even. And it makes the studio think we don't want to do this again. Because you have shareholders you have to answer to. So right now it's far from reaching break-even targets. So that's considered beyond poor for a AAA game. So the pre-order cancellations. let's give some credit here again. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Endymion on YouTube, I guess is, but that's his X handle, and that's where I got this next screenshot here. By the way, that's Rook. Woo! Non-binary or not, that's another character. Anyway, let's get back to this. The heart and soul of this. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so a source who works in the retail space showed me how many pre-orders got canceled for Dragon Age Veilguard in the last few days. This is from a major store with over 900 locations. I'm not sure what store it is. 900 locations is a lot, but I assume GameStop, and GameStop is a couple thousand. So the Veilguard pre-orders versus cancellations by platform. Deluxe Xbox, 108. Look at that. These are small pre-order numbers from this place. 695 for the Xbox Deluxe. 885 for the normal Xbox. The deluxe PS5 it went about 1900. The normal PS5 about 3300. A total is at what 500? About 1,000 cancellations. That's a lot. So around 14 to 15% is what he's talking about. That's a high number in terms of cancellations. For each version of Veilguard was canceled in the last few days by customers across these 900 stores within America alone. I'm also told by another source pre-orders in general were very low, way less than 500,000, closer to 200,000 or less in total. Yikes! And he says, do what you will with this info, but there you go. The source's store specifically only sold 3 copies of Veilguard since the release. That is brutal. And hey, BioWare deserves this. EA deserves this. When you shove crap down our throats, you're going to get no sales or minimal sales because we are now responding with our wallets. There is some praise for the story and character arc, but mostly there's criticism for the linearity and dialogue choices and the wokeism. So what's the future outlook for all of this? Well, my friends, not good. Here's why. When a game sells well to start, that company is out there, bam, 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 showing you sales figure here, sales figure there, bam, bam. They're not doing that this go around. They've not disclosed specific sales, and that's not good. That usually is a good sales is given when game exceeds or meets expectations at launch. No plans for additional content. The team is moving to Mass Effect 5. This game may go down as a bust. Now let's compare it with Dragon Age Inquisition. The Veilguard did outperform it in its launch sales, but it has higher development costs. Inquisition was released in 2014, 10 years ago. It cost about $40 million. Veilguard released 2024, cost about $200 million. You really can't compare them. It's apples and oranges. So again, initial estimates suggest a budget. The conservative side, 80 to 150 million. Some people conservatively saying it's exceeding 100 million, potentially approaching or exceeding 200 million when accounting for marketing and developmental delays. Now, here's my problem with the ones with the low end. Every game that we figured out at the low end tends to be much higher that has come out. So Dragon Age Veilguard may have a decent start, but between its concurrent players in Steam, its low pre-orders, its refunds, its social media disaster in terms of what's coming out with players, you're getting the Wokeness supporters, the Pajama Boys, the what's the other one? Pajama Boys of the JJs, the feminazis. You're getting these individuals all supporting it, but they're being drowned out by the true critics. Gaming magazines are no longer the leading critics. Gamers on Rumble, on YouTube, on Kick, on Twitch, they're the ones that people go to for reviews, and they are destroying this game. So again, a decent start, but the long-term viability, following BioWare's previous underperformers, Anthem, Mass Effect, Andromeda, it's not looking good for BioWare. They are a disaster. So again, let's close it out. The game has received mixed reviews, while some do praise its storytelling and character work. Most criticize it for the perceived linearity and forced inclusivity. The future outlook, with no plans for downloadable content and the shift to Mass Effect 5, there is no long-term viability. Optimistically, it remains uncertain. Realistically, given its current sales figures and community feedback, this is a bust in the making. So my final thoughts, debate continues. If I was a fair person, I would say it's essential to consider both the artistic intention behind the game's themes and the audience's reception, highlighting the complexities of modern game development in a diverse landscape. Reality, this is an uphill battle, which I see them failing. And there you have it, my friends. My breakdown of what's happening with Dragon Age, the Veilguard. I'm not going to buy this. I'm not going to play it. I'm giving you what is happening out there and what people are talking about. If you're a parent, don't buy this game. Do not buy this game if you are a conservative parent. It is indoctrination. The reason I talk about games at my age, I started gaming in the 70s. I still game today. I'm not an everyday gamer. I just don't have time for it. I'm an adult. I have a job. I don't live for games, but I do game still. I enjoy it. Just bought Silent Hill the remake. Looks wonderful. I started playing that. It'll take me a few months to play that. A game that may take 12 hours, 15 hours. It'll take me 4, 5, 6 months because I take my time. I don't have a lot of time, but I'm still a gamer. So I'm involved in this fight because it's in schools are the number one form of indoctrination. It started with college, drifted down to high school, then junior high / middle school. Had a friend of mine about 6, 7 years ago. I had coffee with him pre-COVID. His kid was in grammar school. He was like, William, I went in for a parent-teacher meeting, and it was damn woke. Pride flags on the wall, drawings. Everything was pride. So that's indoctrination is there, my friends. If you can homeschool, you homeschool. So this is where they teach them. But the subliminal indoctrination happens with gaming. Gaming is more powerful than anything else, even education to an extent. So parents, understand what your kids are watching. And there you have it. Do not forget, you can to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. And you can find this podcast and my other Red, White, and Rude episodes. I talked about the Menendez brothers. I just had a clip. We're talking about a big-time gaming figure who is so woke. She has her own safe space. She's no longer working at a major woke publication. The ramifications of that I talk about. You can find all this stuff along with my Fired Up Conservative Talk podcast, as well as my Points on the Board podcast, and that's where sports and politics collide as well. You can find all of that at grumblingsmedia.com, as well as our social media platforms such as YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, and Pandora under the profile Grumblings Media. My friends, thank you for watching. I hope you join me again next week, where I am going to be talking about with a special guest, conservative women and dating. How that goes for them. That's going to be a fun episode. So be on the lookout for that. My name is William Del Pilar. This is a Red, White, and Rude. And until next time, I bid you adieu.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these 2 boxes.